Because I'm live and nobody's watching yet. And they shadow ban me anyway on Facebook and YouTube. I'm a Vietnam vet. My occupation was the highest killed in Vietnam, according to the 173rd Airborne Division.com website. I was a truck driver supplying ammo, fuel, food to the very tiny fire support base camps all around Saigon. Sometimes a lot by myself, one truck. Sometimes in convoys if they were bigger bases that had 3 or 4 companies at them, instead of just a platoon or two. I would like to thank all you veterans out there from every war that happens to still be alive for having our backs. Because our government didn't give a damn about our backs. They didn't give a damn whether we won or lost people. In Vietnam, there was a lot of hills like Hamburger Hill that we had to prove to the enemy we could take, no matter how many lives or injuries our troops sustained. When we had B-52s, we could have leveled a damn hill. We had Cobras. We had miniguns. We had rockets. We had artillery. But we had to prove to the enemy, no matter how many lives it would take. World War II, they forced 10, 20,000 military people to be within 10 miles of the atomic explosion out of the Midwest to see what kind of impact it would have. Most of them died in less than 20 years from radiation poisoning. Did our government give a damn? It wasn't until they would be 95 before the government decided that they were going to help with restitution. Korean veterans, royally screwed. And had Agent Orange too in the 60s, even though the war was supposedly a ceasefire agreement, still holding since 53 or 54. And in Vietnam, where they had to force, with a threat of jail, these chemical companies to make the different versions of Agent Orange, which they knew killed all life. And Ho Chi Minh was our ally. He defeated the Japanese before we did. He offered us bases there in case they tried to take back Southeast Asia, which was called Indochina at the time. But no, they could not be independent. We needed control over the world. And we told Ho Chi Minh to kiss our ass. France owned you before the war. They own you now. They can steal your resources and enslave your people, whether you like it or not. He had an army. He had a lot of our equipment. And he got more equipment from Russia and China. They love to support wars against us. And he defeated the French and was declaring an independent country. And we jumped in. And then we poisoned the country, even though we knew since World War I that we banned chemical warfare. And every base in America and in the world that the U.S. Army, Marines, Air Force, or Navy was at, I can bet my life that all that mustard gas that was produced for World War One is buried somewhere on those bases, whether they exist now or not. Because I saw our military burying stuff. They buried stuff everywhere. They didn't recycle hazardous waste. They didn't recycle anything. Just bury it, which was polluting the people supposedly serving our country on those bases. Both Democrat and Republican get a lot of campaign contributions from our defense industry, our military might machinery, our Roman Empire wanted destiny. In 1975, when North Vietnam took over South Vietnam, they filed a lawsuit for injury of their people in the World Court. They had hundreds of medical experts from worldwide go in there and tell dozens and dozens of diseases and cancers that the chemical makeup of Agent Orange could cause and did cause. By 1979, it was starting to get public viewing around the world what we had done using chemical warfare in Vietnam. So our government ran in and offered to Vietnamese, I was told, $630 billion with a B dollars to treat their sick, as long as the lawsuit was hidden from the world's public, and especially the American public. Who had the American veterans' backs? When we were in, we only had each other's backs because we couldn't rely on our commanders or the government to have our backs. By the 80s, hundreds on both sides started getting sick and dying. By the 90s, thousands a week were starting to die on both sides. Wait a minute, where are all the bullets and bombs going off? All these people dying weekly, thousands a week dying. There was no more bombs, no more bullets, just a chemical that we encountered. And the Vietnamese people, even today, are still encountering it. Just like the Japanese are still encountering it 4 generations later from our atomic explosions in their 2 major cities. The ground is still polluted. Just like our farmland where they grew tobacco and used DDT, it's still getting into our vegetables and feed corn and stuff, which is getting into our cows and pigs and stuff that we're eating. Contamination. By the early 2000s, the federal government says, well, 1 million Vietnam veterans have died already. Let's start talking about letting a few of them have some payments, like we feel sorry for them. We're still going to deny that it ever hurt anybody and fight them in court tooth and nail for years. But we'll let a few have it. 2002, I think they let 4 out of the 30-some be approved for Agent Orange benefits. While thousands of people are dying on both sides weekly. And as I said, $630 billion was given to Vietnam to treat their sick and dying and as restitution to their families. Estimated now, 4 to 6 million Vietnamese are dead. Millions more is sick from drinking the water or eating the food off the ground where we heavily sprayed it. They shoot us again. We're spending billions of dollars a year cleaning up where we stored it, where it leaked and stuff, where we can't even clean up our own hazardous waste dump sites here in America. But we should clean up theirs and clean up ours. That was 2002. 1,000,000 Americans died. Their families went broke, spending their retirement, taking money from their houses to pay for the health care of their loved ones who suffered a horrible death from the diseases and cancers of Agent Orange without being qualified to go to the VA for them. Thousands of veterans came home from Vietnam angry, drug addicted, alcoholics. Did the military give a damn? After they had them in a re-education camp? The military is a re-education camp. They strip you down. They make you walk around naked. They stick their finger and make you cough. They hit you with a big thing in your arm, giving you dozen shots by air. It hurts like hell sometimes if they don't have it tight enough. And it still hurts. They shave your head. They scream and yell at you. You march to killing songs, destroying songs. They program you to be a John Wayne, a Sylvester Stallone, a person that charges when bullets are flying at them, to kill the enemy. And then they send you to war zones sometimes where you're forced to. Or you see other people do it. Or you see the after, like I did mostly after, of the bombs and booby traps did to people. And you come home and they say, thank you for your service, goodbye, and let you out in the community where they've screwed up your whole mind without reprogramming you, without doing anything. And if you come home and you slug a superior officer because he made some kind of comment about Vietnam veterans, they kick you out as dishonorable. If you come home drug addicted or alcoholic, even today from Iraq and Afghanistan, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Syria, we still got troops everywhere. And a lot of them come home all messed up and drink and drugs. The military doesn't treat them. They just kick them out and give them a dishonorable where they can't even go to the VA to get treatment. That's why there's so many homeless veterans and so many in jail. We have to have each other's back. Now, veterans is a cut of society. There's good ones and there's bad ones. But most of us have the same mindset that we were fighting for freedoms in the world, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, until you open your eyes and find out it was just about world domination or oil or money for the vendors for our military and to keep the military generals happy because they were always in a war and could get more rank. Veterans Day is coming up soon. Look at Camp Lejeune. Well, let me go back to Vietnam. There was roughly 30 million people in the service during the height of Vietnam, which was about 63, 64 to 71. 30 million people in the service. 2.6 million of us went to Vietnam, roughly. Out of that 2.6 million, 85% of us are dead. Out of the rest of the 30 million, over 80% are still alive. Doesn't that tell you something about Agent Orange and chemical warfare we used on our own troops, telling them it wouldn't harm us? It would only harm plant growth? Look at Iraq and Afghanistan. Desert Storm, where 150,000 troops came home with extreme breathing and lung problems. And the military denied it up until recently that it could have been from causes of Desert Storm and the oil fires, or maybe Saddam Hussein used chemical warfare against us. 20% of them died. 80% is mostly unable to work since then from extreme lung problems. And now with the burn pits, we don't care about our vets. And we should never have gone into Afghanistan. We got to stop tearing down history. We basically, when the Vietnam War ended in 1975, we hid it from the world. We hid it from ourselves. Even though us Vietnam veterans used to laugh how the Soviet Union was getting their ass kicked in Afghanistan, calling it was the Soviet Union's Vietnam, that finally lost and had to leave. And if somebody shot at one of their airplanes in Afghanistan, they brought their B-52s in and leveled the whole damn community. They didn't watch out for women and children and innocent people like we were forced to and wanted to because of our morals, God-fearing ethics. They didn't give a damn, and they still lost. So we sent our troops in to destroy a country and rebuild it, hoping that the people would kiss our ass and live the way we wanted them to, when for many millenniums, from the Roman Empire to the German Empire to the Italian to the Greek, even the Edmonton Empire, could not control Afghanistan and all of their local tribe lords. And for Iraq, that was the biggest mistake Bush ever made. To decide, yes, Saddam Hussein was a mass murderer. He had to be. But in his last 10 or 15 years in reign, people were terrified of him. The Muslims stopped killing the Muslims. They stopped killing the Christians. There were 1 million Christians living in Iraq. 500,000 Jews. They could drive cars, women could, go out without head veils, have Christmas service, Hanukkah. And the 3 Muslim religions stopped killing each other and lived in peace because Saddam Hussein said, if you go kill anybody, your whole family's dead the next day. And he did it. So they were terrified to keep up the civil war between the religions. And they started living in peace, and he came to a first world country. And we destroyed it. Now there's all kind of conflict there again. While we support Saudi Arabia, where women have absolutely no rights, the men don't have any rights except for one Bible. They're caught with any other Muslim religion Bible or any other religions of the world Bibles. Their family and them are executed in Saudi Arabia publicly. And we support a country like that over a country like Saddam Hussein had in Iraq, where he forced the people to live in peace with each other, to work together to build a great country a big oil dynasty in the world. Our country has supported one dictator after another, from the Philippines to Panama to even Saddam Hussein, giving him weapons of mass destruction when he was in a war with Iran to equal it out, because Iran had 4 or 5 times more troops. We gave bin Laden Stinger missiles to help fight the Russians in Afghanistan. Why do we keep getting in bed with ruthless people that hate us, but pretend to like us temporarily, so we arm them? Are we that desperate to keep our billionaires richer in supplying all this military equipment and throw away our GIs like trash? I don't say welcome home to Vietnam veterans. I hate that term because I wasn't welcome home. I was spit on, blood thrown on me at LAX twice coming home from Vietnam. I say thank you for having my back, because without the camaraderie of all of us together in a war zone, most of us would not have come home. We didn't look at color that much. We didn't look at religion that much. We looked whether you're going to help me or not. And yes, they were. You have my back, I have your back. And we'll survive it. That's the only thing that saved us. And even today, a lot of veterans from Vietnam have groups. Some are crooked as hell, but other ones are good, getting out there and helping veterans where the government should be. Raising money to build homes, to help them with medical costs or transportation. All kinds of stuff that the VA won't do. So remember this Veterans Day. Thank God for your brothers in arms that had your back and made you come home. And say a prayer for the ones that we had their back, but the bullet stole or bomb still killed them. Pray for their families, pray for them. And especially pray for the ones that came home all screwed up by our government and their service, that our government threw away like trash, that's in our jails, that's on the streets sleeping homeless. As a veteran, we have each other's back. That's what counts. God wants us to have that, no matter what the name of your God is. All the main religions is help each other, do no harm to each other, and do no harm to nature or God's animals. I'm not a vegetarian, no, don't get me wrong, but I don't hunt anymore either since Vietnam, when I came home. But people of America, you don't understand us veterans. You don't understand what the military did to our minds with re-education camps for 8 to 16 weeks, sometimes 20 weeks, sometimes 30 weeks of extensive brainwashing, extensive beating us down, bullying us, yelling at us, marching us until we passed out from heat exhaustion, completely destroying us to build us in the way they wanted us to be, a killing machine, and then let us go into the public. Most of us, through our families, through our loved ones, didn't end up in jail, didn't end up homeless because we had support. But a lot of us didn't have that support in our families or loved ones. And the government has never given us the support we deserve and need, because that would take away money from all the military machinery we have in this country. One war after another. God bless you all. And think about the veterans, especially Vietnam veterans, and the veterans since. That, like Camp de Lejeune veterans, how many are still alive? Waiting 50, 60, 70 years since they knew the water was poisoned, that they showered in, cooked in, drank on base, before they even let the public know. How many have died? 90%? 99%? Probably closer to 95, 99%, because they'd be 70 to 90 years old now. And with the diseases and cancers that water, contaminated water Camp Lejeune caused, they mostly died in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, a long time ago. Is that a government you should respect? It's not only the Democrats, it's the Republicans too. All about the war machine and all the contributions they get to support the wars to get reelected. So when you go vote, don't believe the politicians that say, I support our military, unless they were military, or they were a police officer, or a firefighter. Just like those thousands of firefighters and police officers that died at 9/11. They're still not getting the proper support, and their families not getting the proper support for health care and mental care for them. Because what happened during that attack in 3 locations in America. Veterans have to have each other's back. So, happy Veterans Day. It isn't happy for me. I've had just about everybody I knew died from cancers at Agent Orange. A half a dozen cousins that served in Vietnam, in all ranks of the service. I was supposed to be dead in 94, according to the VA. With my lungs full of tumors, my prostate, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, peripheral neuropathy, all kinds of stuff. I'm still here. My brain works fine. My body doesn't, but my brain works fine. And I still have your back. I might be hopping over to you, and in the future in a wheelchair coming over to have your back. But I will have your back. I hope you have mine too. And everybody else that serves. Because we need ourselves to support ourselves, because our government won't. Good night. God bless. And stand up for what they did to us by your vote Tuesday. And on Veterans Day, have your voice heard that it's too long and too late. But we need restitution, health care, etc. We need help for what you did to us and caused our families to go through by supposedly serving this emperor that wants to control the world over the years, both Democrat and Republican.